spoken word addiction in certain company. Yes, she'll tell you she's an orphan after you meet her family.
So here's today's repair target. It's a Carvin R600 bass amp, and this is from the bass player of the Johnson County Coroners. You've seen music videos or music performances on my YouTube channel. So the bass player says this guy here has got some problems, so I'm going to take a look at it. I downloaded the schematic off the Carvin website, which is good. So while it looks kind of complicated, it's actually fairly simple. It's got about 10 different blocks, you know, kind of over here, the power supply. This is the graphic equalizer. Here's some gain circuits over here. Over here is this is like the line output for effects out, and then down here is the power amplifier. And this thing is labeled over here R600 R1000. So the only difference between these two products is right here. These are the output transistors. There's two pairs for the 600, and there's 4 pairs for the 1000. These are matched transistors, so you can't just put something in here. You got to get all 8 of them to be matched. These little resistors here kind of help out with that mismatch, but you still can't just put them in. This also has two amplifier sections, so you can run different, different cabinets off of its own amplifier. So let's just take this apart and see what's wrong with this, so those guys can play at their next outdoor gig, which I think is going to be in Denver. So I got this Carvin bass amp out of the case, and I took the top off, and it looks pretty clean inside of there. This is a toroid transformer, and it actually is a tube amp. I didn't see this on the schematic. I'll have to go back and look for this. Well, it's got one tube in it, so this is a preamp tube. It's a 12AX7. So we'll check the voltages on it. It's got a power stage back here, and all the transistors are actually brought out. They didn't cut the leads off. And then here are the load resistors. Keep it from blowing the thing out if you short the cabinet. And then here's the preamp section up along the front. So we're going to check the power supply out first and see what's going on there. So it looks like this amp has been repaired. There's like a piece of wood glued in here, and it is like forcing this little section of, this is where you plug your guitar in. This thing is really loose here, and there's a little bit of play back here. They didn't really do a very good job of getting this in there. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere, but we'll check that out. The other thing is there's a nut inside the case, so this is not very good because this is used on the road a lot, so there's nuts, you know, freely to move around and get shorted to all sorts of stuff. It's not high voltage, but it's not a good idea. So we'll continue looking and see what we're up against.
Her eyes black as night now. shake down tight. Gives a smile when the pain comes. The pain gonna make everything alright. Take me to raging.
Alright, so I found one problem. I got my iPod connected into the passive, what's the other one say that? Active. I got my gain here, and this one's an interesting knob. This is a mix between the tube and the other preamp normal. So it mixes in the, that's good. So it didn't play very loud at all. The reason is these knobs over here are really messed up. These are the main output amplifiers, and so this one here is okay. We start getting a little more volume. This one here is really very noisy. This one is the real problem here. I'll show you why. I went over here and I was looking at these. I was thinking, oh, all I got to do is blow some potentiometer cleaner in there, contact cleaner, and clean them out. But as I was looking to see that thing turn in there, the knob kind of stopped without really turning. And then I found out that the knob is actually, it's actually broken. So this pot here is really in bad shape. Now, kind of sucks because this whole board back here has got a lot of components on it, and in order to get it out, like a 1/4 inch, just to take that nut off and slide that in, I gotta take all this crap off the front. All the knobs, everything off the front. That sucks. But we'll do it. I'll pull that out and order that part, and I might as well order new ones of all these things while I'm in there changing it, as well as these two, just because these are probably the most, these two are used a lot, as well as all these ones. So we'll just order 5 pots and put new ones in.
Keeps a lock of hair in her pocket. Wears a cross around her neck. Yeah, the hair is from a little boy, and the cross is someone that she has not met. Not yet. Yeah, she talks to angels. They call her out by her name. Oh yeah, talk to angels. Said they know her name.
Okay, so I was able to cut that potentiometer out of there. This is the, what's it labeled as? Amp 2 high frequency. And then I pulled the potentiometer apart to kind of see what's going on, because they're pretty simple. So here's the wiper right here. That thing spins around, and this has got, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this thing. It's got these little fingers on it. And it basically follows this little carbon disc around here, round and round. But what happened was somehow this thing had fallen off the shaft, which is this guy. So I might be able to put this back together. However, the way I cut that thing out of the other one, it's going to be, I'm going to have to take the whole thing apart to put it back in, because without the shaft in it, it was easy to get this whole part out, but now that the shaft's on there, it's another ½ inch longer, so I can't pull the circuit board apart like I did, so I'll have to take all the fronts off and stick it back in there. But we'll probably put this back together and see if I can get it to work, and if it does, then we'll go ahead and use that. I did find another part over here in my collection of junk. This is another 50K potentiometer, and I could use this, but the shaft is too long, it's probably the wrong diameter, and it doesn't have any mounting hardware to hold it to the front. So if this doesn't work, I'll have to figure out how to get this guy in there, so we can get this out and not keep this around for too long. So I got this thing back together. I used a wood clamp to kind of hold it together. Then I pushed this back on, this plastic part. I pushed it back onto the shaft. And then I put a little spot of super glue right there to kind of hold it in there. This might actually work. I did just go ahead and spray this down with some contact cleaner and let that dry off, and then I'll check this with an ohm meter. And we'll see. I think that this might actually work. So let's continue on. Alright, so I got my meter hooked up, and to my pot I was able to put that back of it back on there, kind of smash it back on. I actually haven't done a potentiometer repair in all my days. So if you turn it all the way one way, it should go down to close to 0. So it's at about 3 ohms. You turn it all the way clockwise and it should go up to about 50K. And what you're looking for along the way is for it to bounce around between there and 50K. That'll show that there's a kind of noisy if it opens up inside. But this thing is rocking. So okay, we've got the everything hooked back up again. Take a look in here and I'll show you what I ended up doing. I was able to get that potentiometer back in there, and I actually just soldered it back in there, no wiring or anything. Put all the knobs back on. I did have to take off all these knobs, and then I was able to pull this back circuit board out enough to get this potentiometer in there. So I got them all back in, and they went in pretty easily. And I also went in and put some contact cleaner in all these knobs, and that was a little bit of a challenge because there was a ton of crap back in there. I kind of cleaned up. This thing had been, I don't think it's been cleaned for a while. So anyway, let's try it out here. Got the volume turned down. What's going on here? Anything on? What's happening? There we go. 50. My repair on that 50 Cape Hot worked out just fine. So now what I gotta do is stick it all back together, give it back, and do some field trials. So I'm down at Double R Sports Bar, and we got the Carvin R600, and we're ready to test it out. The Coroners are playing tonight. This is July 4th, and so they expect a pretty big crowd. And Stefan's going to come over and plug in and see what's going on. He's got it plugged into a couple of speakers here, and we'll see what happens.
All right, let's check it out. Damn, that sounds great. That's awesome.
So there is a tube in there.
There is, okay.
A single preamp tube.
Now is that for, just a preamp too?
It's a preamp tube. It's a 12 AX7. You can mix it in the mix, so